Hello and welcome to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up. My name's Andrew and I'm glad to have you here with me. This is where I share my thoughts, rating, and review following my most recent reaction or watch-along video. To find these reaction and watch-along videos, please visit @SeenEverything over on YouTube. Please be sure to click the follow button here on the podcast, and for those listening on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review would be greatly appreciated. And now, on to this episode's wrap-up for Apollo 13.
Well, that was an incredible movie. I expected it to be good. You don't have a movie like that that ends up as a classic without it actually backing it up. It would have been very odd for that movie not to be as good as most people say it is. But I will say at first, it was a little bit of a slow start. It wasn't really until the crisis started that things really started taking off. Just the drama and the peril that these people were in and just some of the most impressive, dramatic parts of this movie. What I was going to say at the end of the reaction was the way that they go out on the voiceover with him talking about who's going to go next. It makes me wonder, I don't remember 95, 94 as well. I was pretty young at that point. It makes me wonder if that was a time period where NASA wasn't going to the moon or doing space travel like that. And if there was kind of this big push of people wanting us to go back to the moon or go back to, these kind of big, ambitious space travel expeditions to explore the universe. I don't know enough about the history of NASA and space travel to know where we were with all of that at that time. But that's the kind of the feel that you get from that. It's like almost, hey, this is why space travel is great. When are we going to start doing it again? I'm really glad I watched this movie. I really enjoyed it. It does as much as you possibly can do to try to capture not just the drama of a situation like this, but the real world stakes. You get to know at least Jim's family. You get to know some of the other family too, but you spend the most time with Jim's family. But you get to know the other astronauts involved, the people involved at Mission Control, just all of the huge amount of stuff that goes into making something like this go right, and how easily it can go wrong. The thing they talk about at the end where it was one little spring in the system that was faulty that eventually took the whole thing down. They were doing a routine procedure that any of them would have done, any of them should have done. It was part of their regular procedure. Wasn't anything anyone did wrong. It was a completely unexpected malfunction. But it shows you how easily and how quickly that whole thing can just go sideways. How delicate space travel, especially space travel back then, I would imagine was. I would imagine that today it's a bit more robust than that, but still, any number of things could go wrong that they just can't predict for. They just have to do the best they can to get people into space with a decent plan and hope if something else happens that they haven't accounted for, that they can figure it out. And that's unfortunately the risk that a lot of these people take in order to do this. But if we don't do this, we don't go out into the universe and explore beyond our own world if there aren't people willing to take these risks. I've seen The Martian and I know that story pretty well. That's not a true story, but scientists have regarded it as one of the most accurate space travel movies, at least for a fictional space travel movie. And that also illustrates, even though it's a fictional story, just how the slightest little thing, when you're in these incredibly inhospitable and delicate situations, how it can just be catastrophic. So many of these space movies like this that depict real space travel or do their best to try to depict realistic space travel. That's one of the main things they illustrate, is just how quickly things can go wrong. It's a lot of science, it's a lot of work, a lot of effort from a lot of people, but it's also just at the end of the day, unfortunately still, a lot of luck too when it goes right. This was quite a journey to go through this. It's sad they never made it to the moon. It's sad that none of them ever flew again as far as space travel, but I can't say I blame them after going through something like that. But at least they all made it home, and at least they were able to tell their story and live out a little more of their lives. Unfortunately, Kevin Bacon's character, Jack, died from cancer not long after that. Still an incredible story, and I can see why everyone voted for it, and I'm glad I watched it. Thank you. I'm going to have to listen to what you guys tell me more often. As I shoot this, I have a poll running right now for a horror movie I'm going to do next week for kind of the Halloween season, and I have something else planned for the week after that. So as far as a rating goes, I feel like I'm going to have to give it 5 stars. I actually thought as we started here that I was going to give it 4. Like I said, the early part of the movie did drag some, but especially as it got going and all the incredibly dramatic scenes and just the spellbinding tension of the movie. There's nothing else I could give this movie other than a 5 stars. It was just great, which I feel like is probably no surprise to most of you. Thank you for voting for this movie, for suggesting that I watch it. Thank you for being here with me to watch it. I always really appreciate you being here with me.
If you'd be so kind, please go ahead and rate, comment, and share this episode of the podcast. Really helps me out here.
And I will see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up. Again, to find these reaction and watch-along videos, please visit @SeenEverything over on YouTube. Please consider following the podcast, and for those on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review are always appreciated. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll meet you here on the next episode.